Christmas Eve, 1914. Amidst the horrors of World War I, soldiers laid down their weapons to celebrate peace, but behind the scenes another battle was brewing. This is the untold story of espionage during the Christmas truce. Welcome to Curio Versum, where history meets intrigue. Today we uncover how the iconic Christmas truce wasn't just a moment of peace, but also an opportunity for espionage. Did spies use the goodwill of Christmas to gain an upper hand in war? Let's find out. Europe was engulfed in the horrors of the First World War. The war had already claimed countless lives and left many more wounded, both physically and emotionally. Soldiers on both sides faced unimaginable brutality in the trenches. The conditions were harsh, with mud, rats, and the constant threat of enemy fire making life almost unbearable. But then, something extraordinary happened. Amidst the chaos and bloodshed, a glimmer of hope began to shine through. As Christmas approached, a spirit of peace and goodwill emerged on the Western Front. Soldiers began to decorate their trenches with whatever they could find, trying to bring a bit of the holiday spirit to the front lines. Soldiers laid down their arms, sang carols and crossed no man's land to meet their enemies, not as combatants but as fellow men. They shared stories of home, their hopes and their dreams. This was the Christmas truce of 1914, a testament to the enduring human spirit in the face of adversity. It was a moment that showed the world that even in the darkest of times, humanity could still shine through. This truce was not a formal ceasefire. It was not sanctioned by the high command on either side, and it was not part of any official peace negotiations. It was a spontaneous act of humanity that spread along the trenches, defying the orders of commanders. Soldiers took it upon themselves to reach out to the enemy to find common ground in the midst of war. Soldiers shared cigarettes, food, and stories. They discovered that they were not so different after all, that they shared the same fears and hopes. They played football, sang carols, and even exchanged gifts. For a brief moment, the war seemed to fade away, replaced by a sense of brotherhood and camaraderie. For a moment, the trenches were filled with laughter and joy instead of fear and violence. It was a rare and precious respite from the horrors of war. However, the truce was more than just a heartwarming story. It was a complex event with a darker side, one that involved espionage and the constant threat of violence. Not all soldiers were willing to trust the enemy, and some approached the truce with suspicion. Some soldiers used the truce as an opportunity to gather intelligence on the enemy, to learn their positions and strategies. They took notes, observed enemy movements, and prepared for the inevitable return to combat. The truce, while a beautiful moment of peace, was also a reminder of the harsh realities of war. It showed that even in moments of humanity, the spectre of conflict was never far away. Espionage, the clandestine world of spies and secrets, was an integral part of warfare in the 20th century. The First World War was no exception. Both sides relied heavily on intelligence gathering to gain an advantage over their enemies. Every piece of information, no matter how small, could potentially turn the tide of battle. In the trenches, traditional methods of espionage were often ineffective. The close proximity of the enemy lines and the constant threat of sniper fire made it extremely dangerous to send out patrols or dispatch spies behind enemy lines. The Christmas truce, however, presented a unique opportunity. With the guns silent and soldiers mingling freely, spies could gather valuable information without arousing suspicion. They could observe enemy positions, eavesdrop on conversations, and even plant listening devices. The truce was a double-edged sword. It offered a chance for peace, but it also provided fertile ground for deception and intrigue. The methods of espionage employed during the Christmas truce were often subtle and discreet. Spies, disguised as ordinary soldiers, would engage in seemingly harmless conversations, hoping to glean valuable information. They would ask about troop numbers, morale, and the location of key installations. Coded messages were another tool in the spies' arsenal. Messages hidden in plain sight, disguised as Christmas greetings or scribbled on scraps of paper, could be passed back and forth. These messages, when deciphered, could provide crucial information about enemy movements or plans. Observation was key. Spies would use the opportunity to memorize the layout of enemy trenches, the placement of artillery guns, and the movement of troops. Even seemingly insignificant details, like the type of uniforms worn or the accents of the soldiers, could be valuable pieces of the intelligence puzzle. Espionage during the Christmas truce was a dangerous game. One wrong word, one suspicious glance could expose a spy and lead to his capture or death. The risks associated with espionage during the Christmas truce were immense. Both sides were wary of the other's intentions, and suspicions ran high. Soldiers were ordered to be on their guard, even while fraternizing with the enemy. One of the biggest risks was being caught in a lie. Spies had to maintain their cover stories flawlessly, even under pressure. Any inconsistency or slip-up could raise suspicions and lead to their exposure. Another risk was being betrayed by a fellow soldier. Some soldiers opposed to the truce or suspicious of their comrades might report any suspicious activity to their superiors. This could lead to the arrest and interrogation of the suspected spy. The punishment for espionage was severe. Capture often meant imprisonment or even execution. Spies knew the risks they were taking, but the potential rewards, in terms of valuable intelligence, were often too great to ignore. The truce was a fragile peace, and the act of espionage added another layer of complexity to an already delicate situation. One particular incident highlighted the precarious nature of the Christmas truce and how easily espionage could have shattered the fragile peace. The truce, a rare moment of humanity amidst the brutal conflict, was a delicate balance of trust and goodwill. A German soldier, under orders to gather intelligence, was caught sketching British trench positions during a football match. This match was more than just a game. It was a symbol of the temporary peace that had been established. The British soldiers, initially amused by the Germans' enthusiasm for the game, became suspicious when they noticed him scribbling in a notebook. Their curiosity turned to concern as they wondered what he could be documenting so intently. Upon closer inspection, they realized he was not drawing caricatures of the players, but detailed diagrams of their defenses. The notebook contained precise sketches of the trench layouts, which could be invaluable to the enemy. The discovery sparked outrage and threatened to reignite hostilities. The fragile peace was on the brink of collapse as soldiers from both sides began to argue and point fingers. Accusations of treachery filled the air, and the once friendly atmosphere turned tense. The camaraderie that had been built over shared moments of peace was quickly unraveling. The British soldiers felt betrayed, their trust violated. They had welcomed the German soldier into their game, only to find out he was potentially endangering their lives. The German soldier, caught red-handed, pleaded innocence, claiming he was merely sketching for his own amusement. He insisted that he had no malicious intent and that his actions were misunderstood. The situation was diffused thanks to the intervention of a level-headed British officer. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, he stepped in to mediate and prevent the incident from escalating further. Recognizing the potential for the incident to escalate into violence, he proposed a compromise. He suggested that the German soldier hand over his notebook as a gesture of goodwill. The German soldier would hand over his notebook and be allowed to return to his lines unharmed. This solution aimed to restore the trust that had been broken and maintain the truce. In exchange, the football match would continue and the truce would hold. The soldiers, relieved that the situation had been resolved peacefully, resumed their game, cherishing the fleeting moments of peace amidst the chaos of war. The incident served as a stark reminder of the thin line between war and peace. Despite the tension, the truce held, and for a brief time the soldiers on both sides experienced a rare moment of unity and humanity. As the sun set over the trenches, the soldiers reflected on the day's events. The Christmas truce, though fragile, had endured another test, reminding everyone of the power of compassion and understanding, even in the darkest of times. The dichotomy of peace and war has been a subject of contemplation for centuries, and nowhere is this more evident than in the events of World War I. The Great War, as it was known, was a time of unprecedented conflict and suffering, yet it also revealed moments of profound humanity and compassion. The Christmas Truce of 1914, despite its brief existence, offers a powerful lens through which to examine the complex relationship between peace and war. This spontaneous ceasefire, initiated by the soldiers themselves, saw men from opposing sides come together in a rare moment of camaraderie and goodwill. It was a fleeting glimpse of what could be achieved when humanity triumphs over hostility. It was a testament to the inherent human desire for peace, even amidst the brutality of conflict. Soldiers sang carols, played soccer and shared food, creating memories that would last a lifetime. These acts of kindness and unity were a stark contrast to the violence and bloodshed that defined the rest of the war. Yet, it was also a stark reminder that war, with its inherent suspicion and mistrust, could easily poison even the most genuine attempts at reconciliation. The soldiers, while enjoying a brief respite, remained wary and cautious, knowing that the truce could end at any moment and the fighting would resume. The espionage that took place during the truce, while a violation of its spirit, was also a reflection of the realities of war. Some soldiers took advantage of the ceasefire to gather intelligence, highlighting the ever-present tension and the lengths to which both sides would go to gain an upper hand. Both sides, locked in a struggle for survival, were willing to exploit any opportunity to gain an advantage, even if it meant jeopardizing a fragile peace. The determination and resolve of the soldiers were evident as they balanced their desire for peace with their duty to their respective nations. The Christmas Truce serves as a poignant reminder of the duality of human nature. It shows that even in the darkest times, there is a capacity for light, for kindness, and for understanding. The soldiers' actions during the truce were a powerful demonstration of the human spirit's resilience and its ability to find common ground, even in the most unlikely of circumstances. We are capable of great compassion and cruelty, of forging bonds across enemy lines and exploiting those bonds for strategic gain. This duality is a fundamental aspect of the human condition, and the events of the Christmas Truce encapsulate this perfectly. The soldiers' interactions with their enemies were a mix of genuine friendship and strategic maneuvering, reflecting the complex nature of war and peace. The events of that Christmas in 1914 remind us that peace is not merely the absence of war, but an active choice, a conscious effort to overcome our differences and embrace our shared humanity. It is a reminder that peace requires courage, empathy, and a willingness to see beyond the labels of friend and foe. It is a lesson as relevant today as it was over a century ago. In a world still plagued by conflict and division, the story of the Christmas Truce serves as a beacon of hope and a call to action. It challenges us to strive for peace in our own lives and to work towards a world where such moments of unity and understanding are not the exception, but the norm. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. Want to know more about how peace and espionage collide? Don't miss our next video, Secrets Beneath the Snow, How Espionage Thrived During Christmas. Subscribe now and turn on notifications to uncover the hidden stories of history.